Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back, as always, to another video, and today we are working on a brand new Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. And I've played this game a lot over the past 9-10 months since it's been out. I've got just south of 400 hours in this game, but I've never played the Dark Urge, and so without further ado, let's start and get into the Dark Urge. It's also played on Tactician mode. I'm normally a balanced man or a custom game mode guy. But let's just rock it, good old-fashioned Tactician. And yeah, we'll get right into the Dark Urge here. I am the Dark Urge. Nice to meet you. I am going to customize this guy a little bit here because I want to have some fun with this. I've never, like I mentioned a few seconds ago, I've played Baldur's Gate 3 a ton over the past year. I think a lot more than most people have that aren't, real Baldur's Gate nuts. But I haven't played the Dark Urge. I'm not someone who really does well with being like uber mean to people, especially in real life. Definitely in video games too. But I think I've played this game enough now that I am just starting to see these people as just pixels like they are, and not real people that can have their feelings hurt. So let's dive into it here. I don't really know. I really didn't put a whole lot of thought into this before I dove in, and so I think. So I'm debating about whether or not I'm going to keep the Dragonborn race here, go with something else. I think I am going to go with the Drow. This is going to be very funny because my first playthrough, I was a Drow wizard, and this playthrough, my first Dark Urge playthrough, I'm also going to be a Drow wizard. The reason for that being is I just haven't played a wizard in a while, and I want to play one. And so the Drow 2 are really fun in the beginning of the game at the Goblin Camp and whatnot. And, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later. I was going to talk about setting some ground rules for this playthrough and just kind of talk about where I'm coming from, but we'll talk about that in a second. So we're going to go with Drow here. I also think we'll probably go Lothsworn Drow, because that's just more evil. I think these guys are pretty... Yeah, these guys can be found seeking allies all over Faerun, aiming to settle their conflict with Loth and catch and each other by any means necessary. And Loth is what Minthara has sworn to, the evil goblin camp leader, who you can get as a companion, which will probably I think we were going to do that in this run. I've never actually done that either, and so there's going to be a lot of first things for me in this campaign, even though I've played a lot of this already. But we're going to be a Lothsworn drow, raised by Loth's cult in the city of Menza Berezin. These drow embody the virtues of their corrupt and merciless goddess. Loth marks her followers with bright red eyes so that those in the Underdark will learn to fear them on sight. Alright, so we got to keep some bright red eyes if we want to stick with the RP here, which we're going to a certain extent, as long as it's fun for us. My cantrips. Mage Hand, I'm not going to use because we'll probably have Lae'zel for the first little while, and she can use Mage Hand. I do really like Ray of Frost and Firebolt. I just think they're both great damage cantrips. And I'm thinking about what else. I think we'll probably take Blade Ward. Just because, honestly, I don't use cantrips very much anyways, because I rest a lot when I'm playing Baldur's Gate. And so I very frequently, when I'm going into a tough fight, have access to most of my spells and spell slots. As it comes to our spells here that we're going to take with us into battle, we'll quickly clear out what we got selected here. And we're going to start with Magic Missile. Just an unbelievable spell from the beginning of the game all the way to the very end. And we'll talk about why I think that throughout this series here. Ice Knife is another great one. Just deals tons of damage for how low level a spell it is. And being able to modify the terrain too gives it a lot of help as well. Burning Hands I think is okay, but I do not want to be in a position where I have to use Burning Hands ever, so I'm not going to take that. So this is where things get strange for me, because I haven't done a lot of tactician play. I mentioned earlier that I'm mostly a guy who plays on balanced. And Charmed Person, I know that in higher difficulties, if you use this, you can in one way or another be found out. Like, they can confront you on it. Be like, hey, why do you just use Charmed Person on me? Why do you use level 1 Charmed Person on me? And I don't know when that's going to come into play, but I'm going to take that anyways, because we are going to be doing a lot of talking with not a lot of charisma. Featherfall is a spell that's fun that I really haven't used very much. Grease, I love Grease. I just, like I mentioned with the ice, with Ray of Frost, I just love being able to modify the terrain. We're going to take Shield as well, because it's useful to be able to, on a reaction, basically help prevent us from being attacked. And then we'll probably finish off with Thunderwave here, which I know I just said I really do not want to be in a position where I have to use Burning Hands, but in a situation where I do have to use Burning Hands, I can't really then get away. Whereas with Thunderwave, if I hit someone with it, this is a much more impactful spell, in my opinion, than Burning Hands is. You get a lot more bang for your buck with Thunderwave, because you can also then knock someone off a cliff. You can knock them away from you so that they don't have the opportunity to use an opportunity attack, so that you can run away. I think you get a lot more bang for your buck with Thunderwave than you do for Burning Hands. Even though technically Burning Hands gives you a little bit more damage. And yeah, so here's going to be our level 1 spells that we'll roll with here. Magic Missile, Ice Knife, Charm Person, Grease, Shield, and Thunderwave. For our background, we are the Haunted One. A wicked moment, person, or thing that cannot be slain by sword or spell haunts your mind and flickers in your peripheral vision. You carry it wherever your adventure takes you, or perhaps it carries you. Skills, medicine, intimidation. And while we're talking about the background, let's talk about my background a little bit with this game and kind of where I'm coming from here. So the number one thing that will be useful as an audience, but also just to keep in mind for me, is that I already know the big spoiler for the Dark Urge. I'm not going to say it until we get to that moment in the story, but I know the big major story for the Dark Urge and where it kind of leads to. I also have seen some things on YouTube about how playing the Dark Urge goes somewhat. I've seen, like, for example, the big first thing that's going to happen to us, I already know all about that. It's pretty big on the internet. I feel like if you've been connected to this game in one way or another, you probably know what the first big Dark Urge event is. And there are a couple of those throughout the game, but for the most part, it's really pretty fresh to me. I don't know how much content there is, per se, to the Dark Urge, but I know for a fact that I haven't seen most of it. And if I had to guess, I'd say it's about 75% of the story that I really don't know jack shit about as it comes to the Dark Urge. And so we're going to find out that 75% together. And hopefully it won't be too disturbing to me, which I'm sure it will be. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Moving on to our abilities here. We got our dexterity, which I'm going to take a point out of that. Because we're not going to be picking locks very much. We'll have Les Alistarian and others for that. And I'll plug that point that I took out of dexterity into charisma. I'm going to keep my constitution high here. I'm thinking about even taking one more point out of dexterity and into charisma. I think I'm going to do that with wisdom. Oh, I guess you can't do that. I don't fully understand what the rule is, why I can't add it here, but I can add it to basically everything else. But, like, okay. Maybe I'll take one out of wisdom and add it to strength, just because I am a fan of shoving people, you know? That's my favorite way to kill someone in this game, is shove them off a big cliff. Preferably one where you can then go get their loot. And so, yeah, we'll keep that extra strength piece there so that we can shove around goblins and whatnot in the early game. And we'll move on to our prepared spells. And as we go to our prepared spells here, I think we'll keep Charm Person. I think we'll probably keep Ice Knife. I think we're probably going to keep Grease too. Actually, I think we're going to take out Grease and put down Shield. As much fun as Grease is. I'm wondering if we... no, I'm going to keep Ice Knife too, and I think we'll need Charm Person for dialogue. Now, let's get into the meat of the story here, and customize our homie. Which, could we... I forget where you actually write down the name. Maybe that's in the next section. Alrighty. Body type. Let's see. Am I a 2 or a 4-man? I'm normally a 2-man, because in real life I'm a 2-man. But, yeah, and I feel like the 2-man vibe kind of goes nice with, the scholarly wizard. If I were a barbarian or something, I'd be running with the 4-man here. But 2-man it is. They're different. No, I was wondering for a second if these faces were different. I would have never noticed that. I do like voice 7. It's just the... Yeah, I like this one the most. But let's
hope the locals are friendly.
This guy.
Pals.
Something to be wary.
Alright.
This place is trapped.
I've had voice 7 for pretty much, not all of them, but I just like that one. Whoever that voice actor is, good shit, man. Good shit to all of them. I feel like the tab voice actors really do not get enough credit. Because you hear them quite a bit for, a non-vocal protagonist for the most part. So let's check out our heads here. I am the head inspector. I'm not an old guy. This guy, not quite. He looks a little... His cheeks are a little pronounced for me. Also, it feels like the maturity scale is way up. This guy just looks old. Also, we're gonna just jump real quick to the hair and go bald so we can see the face. Without the emo cut covering half our head. This guy is literally the stone emoji, the Easter Island head emoji. Skin tone and everything. Oh my god. Alright, I think we're gonna go with, alright, we have, Chad, Brad, and Thad here, and I think we're probably gonna go with Chad. Yeah, Brad doesn't quite do it for me. Yeah. Chad looks a little menacing here, too. It might be his bald-ass head, but we'll get to that in a second. In fact, we actually are going to just jump and give him something a little bit tame, so that way we can see what the hell he looks like normally. And yeah, I don't want, like, the deepest cave you've ever gone, but I also don't want, basically not a drow. I kind of like this purple. Ooh. How purple is Minthara? I think she's, like, more, like... Ooh, this guy is... Yeah, that's a little bit too purple. Yeah, I think the darker... Yeah, okay. We've singled it down here. A little bit darker purple. Hell yeah. I like this. Just a guy. Alright, what kind of scars do we want? I don't think we want the creepy ball one. That's a little bit on the nose. That one is also a little bit much here. I like this one the most. Like, I've used this one the most, but I feel like I've used it too much. This one ain't half bad. Kind of like that guy. This one just reminds me so much of Shadowheart. I'll take this one. I haven't done this one before. This one's cool. Just right across the lip. Gives it a little bit of character. The maturity slider I always just play with, but almost always send it back down to 0. No freckles needed. And yeah, we're not going to play too much with the balls. Nah, we're going to play with the balls. The balls have been played with. Alrighty. Moving on to body art here. I am a face tat man in this game. The first thing that I want to do, actually, before I even get to this, because it'll play into the eyes quite a bit, is if I do even a somewhat evil character, they are getting the, like, black version of the eyes. Like, where the whites of their eyes are black. I do not care if it's not canon or RP or whatever, but it just looks way better in my opinion for the evil characters. And yeah, I mean, come on, dude, he looks menacing. I mean, maybe not with these stupid little squid things, but kinda. Looks much more menacing than, like bright blue eyes, bright green eyes. So yeah, we'll roll with that. I'd like something a little bit more. Do we have like a... I want to do the red, but if we could like find a closer to a purplish red, I wouldn't hate that, but... Yeah, I think we'll roll with that. Not perfect, but we can always change it later. And we will change this as the playthrough goes on to kind of RP with the idea that we've been going for a few months. Our hair is going to grow a little bit, and yeah, we'll see. Now, I'm not someone who wears makeup in my life, but I feel like this guy who's been living in, Drowland for his entire life, I feel like he definitely throws on some eyeshadow. And so let's get down to business. Yeah, that's a little bit much. But I think, like... What does it look like if there's nothing? Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, dude, just a little... that's all I'm talking about. Not too crazy. Just a little... Just make it a little dark around the eyes. Because this looks a little... That's disturbing. Let's make this a little bit more delicate, please. Moving along here. All right, let's take a look at these hairs. The game definitely caters more towards female hairstyles, I think, but I think it also kind of it exists in the world where, men did not cut their hair as frequently as they did back in the as they did now. It's much easier to cut your hair now than it would be in a world of D&D, especially to a stylish degree. And so I think it kind of goes along with that, I mean, I sure as hell don't know, but I would imagine that this was a fairly regular thing for a guy to be running around with, or maybe not that, but whereas today, if you go into, there are certainly some people who look like this. I used to look like this for a time, but I think if you go into most places today, it's a lot of these guys. But I want something kind of wizardly, something kind of elegant here. That's a little bit much for me. I'm not quite a ponytail guy. This is a little bit too messy for me. Yeah, it looks like it's tied in down there again, too. This is okay. Not great. This guy looks pretty fucking badass, but not very wizardly. Leroican vibes. Yeah, that's no. I like this one. This is definitely our leader. See any competition here? Do we see any competition here? I do not. Now, let's get into the color. Because I don't hate the white, don't love it. Actually, I do like the white, but we're going to try and talk ourselves out of it here. That's a little bit much. Let's do something. I think for hair, like this this doesn't look like a guy, you need something kind of muted. And yeah, this purple just is not that. I would like to incorporate some purple in here to kind of go with our skin tone, but it seems like that might be a little bit difficult. I think if we go... I also don't want the black hair too, because I think we are going to roll with the white, at least to a certain degree, because I like how it contrasts with our skin tone here. Now, if we go to our highlights, we might be able to have a little bit more fun with getting our hair a little bit more purple. It looks like this might be a... Yeah, see, that looks a lot better. Just like, gives it a little bit of a tint of purple than that. But if you go too heavy with this, it just shows up in streaks, which is, you got to find the happy medium, which in our case is literally 50%. Then if we go to our graying too, we can do something similar here. Give ourselves a little bit of help with that. And this comes in as much more full because it's trying to imitate your hair being gray and not, how you kind of just get one gray hair at a time until eventually they're all gray. Whereas, as opposed to highlights, where I don't know how highlights work. I've never gotten highlights, but I assume that it's the way it's portrayed here. It's going across certain strands of your hair, or certain streaks, as opposed to it all just kind of filling out randomly. And so, yeah, we'll add a little bit more gray here, and yeah, that, or purple in the form of graying, and I think that does a lot to make our guy look a little bit more just purple and kind of center around what is a really, I think, a very good drow skin tone. Good little base for our character. And, yeah. Cool. We got our makeup good. Do we want any earrings? Oh, shoot. Good thing we came back here, too. Any face tats? Kind of like that. I like it to be somewhat minimal. I like that, too. I also... One thing I really like doing then is when you have like tieflings or drow, for example, that have like much more colorful skin tones than humans do, I'll make this a like it make it blend in a little bit more with their skin tone. I think it looks much more appealing like this than if it were, you know, like a tattoo in real life, kind of in this, you know, in this vein. But just my 2 cents. And so, Dark Urge, what's dark? I don't want something, you know, too like cultish like this, but certainly, you know, we can. Ooh, I think the Beholder neck tat might be perfect for this one, gang. And this one, because you know, I kind of imagine like tattoos, like, you know, the one that we just talked about, this one here, as, you know, that applies to the philosophy we just went over with trying to make this kind of blend in a little bit more and look a little bit more appealing for a character than just a straight up tattoo. I do not think that applies for something like the Beholder neck tat that you kind of want to stand out as compared to everything else. And so we're going to make that nice. And this is kind of like real life tattoo color. Let's make it stand out a little bit. What if we went, I was going to say red like the like our eyes, but, and I kind of like that too, but I just don't think it comes across nearly as well as the black does. I also think maybe it's a little bit intense going 100%. Yeah, that's just too much. So yeah, we'll do the black. There we go. And we're going to confirm that. Any piercings that we want? I think yes. That's, I don't need any facial stuff, but I'll take the, where's the, there's some red ones, I think. Yeah, there we go. And that goes perfectly with our eyes. How about the Dark Moons one? I would actually take this one. This isn't bad. I just don't like the kind of like bone-looking half-moon hanger things. And yeah, these are the ones that I'm looking for. But let's take a peek, just make sure there's nothing else that jumps out to us here. Never. Good thing we took a look, because these ones go way better with Dark Urge type vibe. Yeah, not a nose ring guy. Yeah, perfect. All right, let's go back to our Crimson Daggers, Crimson Hilt Dirks, and we're gonna proceed. There's some hilarious moments that can pop up when you introduce yourself in the game as, you know, Dark Urge, or when you introduce yourself and you say, you know, in a normal Tav playthrough, you say, "Hi, I'm Tav." Where in a Dark Urge playthrough, you say, "Hi, I'm the Dark Urge." And I'm going to avoid situations like that and just name myself something menacing. What should our menacing thing be? Ooh. What should menacing names be? Let's think about this for a moment. I like Kroll. It's kind of ugly, like very like, and I mean ugly in like a very like sharp, like kind of just, it all comes out of your mouth at once. It's not a very elegant word at all. And yeah, taking it from that Crimson Hilt Dirk or whatever to, you know, shorten it, just smush it down into Kroll. And I like that, actually, quite a bit for the Dark Urge. And so, here we go. Our Loathsworn I'll never be able to pronounce this. Loathsworn Drow Wizard Dark Urge, name Krolt. Let's proceed.
You need a guardian. Choose one.
Alrighty. Take another sip of my Celsius and get after the Guardian. Guardian, I mean, the first time I played this game, I thought the Guardian was like someone who was gonna like show up in your party, and so I made it a big, bad, menacing guy. I found out the spoiler about the Dream Guardian, and now I obviously, spoiler alert, they're not someone who joins your party, and so now I just make them hot every time. I mean, how can you not? normally it's a drow, but because I try and make it like kind of make them a little bit more menacing. They a little early game spoiler here. I'll try not to do spoilers, but we'll talk about things as they go along, and this is very, very surface level, but they give you some iffy knowledge, and you kind of asked about whether or not you trust this person or not. So I normally made them a drow because they did come off as a little bit more menacing and mischievous as they're portrayed in this game and other D&D lore. So we'll make ours an elf this time, since that's kind of the opposite of what I was just thinking about with the drow. And yeah, I mean, I really don't need to think too into this one. We're just gonna make her beautiful and move along. With a scar too. I mean, how can you not? And a face down. And anytime I do sun with this scar here, I always make sure that this eye is like the got like the glass eye treatment, basically. Makeup, make it nothing crazy. Can't see anything because the hair's in the way. Real quick, give this lady a hairdo. Yeah, I don't like the scar this time. I think we're getting rid of the scar and the... Yeah, and then we'll just give her regular eyes that are not solid black. Jeez. Nice pair of brown eyes, and then we'll do... I don't think I've ever made a blonde character, this or the Dream Guardian, in all my playthroughs. Oh, or dark brown, now that I've thrown that hair on. But yeah, we'll do dark brown. And then throw a couple earrings on. And honestly, we're gonna go with this one too, because I think it matches the color of the Dream Guardian thing the closest. And that's the vibe. And so we are gonna venture on forth here. I'm gonna call that the end of episode 0, we'll say. I'll throw in I'm probably gonna upload episode 1 before this, but episode 0 will just come out as kind of a companion piece to episode 1, in case, because I can't imagine that most people are going to want to watch the full character creation as compared to gameplay. So we'll call that the end of episode 0 here, and if for whatever reason you watch this first, we'll hop back into episode 1. If not, I will see you soon for episode 2.